Time to game classy.
Are you ready?
There you go. Did you hear the little ding?
I did hear the little doodling.
Yes, that means we are recording.
Hey, all right. I do miss the recording in progress.
Yeah, we will always lament the fact that Zoom, pretty much screwed itself over.
Pooped its pants.
From us trying to exploit it by not paying for it.
Everything should be like WinZip.
Yes, exactly. Everything. It's like, you could pay for Zoom. You could throw us a buck here. Do like the Wikipedia thing. Get Jimmy Wales or whatever his name is over to be like, could you donate $5 to Zoom? I don't know why I sound like Michael Caine.
On that day, sir, I won't want to.
The size of a tangerine.
Size of a tangerine.
I just rewatched that scene the other day. It made me laugh so much. I'm like, it's so utterly ridiculous. I mean, it's a good scene. Don't get me wrong, and it gets its point across, but it's parodied so much with the size of a tangerine.
The size of a tangerine.
I think it's because he says tangerine and not some other type of fruit. Like if he was like the size of a peach. It may be, but just like a tangerine, like he goes.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I guess the tangerine is kind of like an esoteric fruit to choose, huh?
It's a weird fruit. I don't think it's anyone's go-to fruit for describing the size of something.
Yeah, I'd agree.
It's just like it's the size of a durian. What the hell are you talking about? How big's a durian? What
durians are kind of big.
I know, that's what I'm saying. But like a tangerine, it's like. There's other equivalent fruit that are probably like a size of an orange, but I don't think I don't think Michael Caine can say orange. Size of an orange.
Yeah, I don't know. We should ask him.
Michael Caine, can you say orange? Of course, I can say orange.
Of course, I can.
Are you making fun of the way I talk?
What's wrong with the way I talk?
It's fresh in your drink, Governor.
It's fresh in your drink, Governor.
Anyway, welcome to Game Classy.
I love The Simpsons.
Where we will make fun of your accent and
do a poor imitation.
Yeah. Speaking of, you know what I watched yesterday?
What did you watch yesterday?
I watched Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving? It's just called Thanksgiving.
The horror movie.
Oh, I thought that was Thanksgiving.
No, it's the Thanksgiving. I believe is a different movie. Thanksgiving was the new Eli Roth horror movie.
Oh yes, there will be no leftovers.
There will be this year. There will be no leftovers. And when they said that in the movie, me and Kevin both cheered. You're like, yay!
So how was it?
I have to say the opening 15 minutes may rival Ghost Ship as my favorite horror movie opening.
Wow, I say Ghost Ship's opening is pretty incredible.
Yeah, this is it's not the same. It's not like that balls to the wall like killing. It's just like it's a buildup that's so fun to watch because you know what's coming. Kind of horror. It's like it's a brilliant act one. And the rest of the movie is fine. It's a very 80s slasher, which I approve of. Okay. It's like who's the murderer, who's the guy in the mask type horror movie, which you don't see that often anymore, which I appreciate. It's kind of almost a throwback.
Well, I'll say that the poster is very much like it looks like a straight out of the 80s.
Yeah, and I appreciate it for what it was. The ending, it's not my favorite, but I think the ending to any slasher movie is never really that great. Because once you know who the murderer is, it's like, oh, okay, now they just have to find a way to kill the person. It's the cleverness is kind of wears off.
That's true.
But one thing I do, it goes back to what we were saying earlier, is that one of my favorite things in the movie is all of the adults were doing terrible Boston accents, and I think they were doing it on purpose. Like I honestly think it was like part of the charm of the movies. Everyone's talking like they're from Boston.
I see.
Hey, gotta go to Donkeys and park the car. Gotta park the car and go to Donkeys.
That's a wicked bad accent.
It's a wicked bad accent. Yeah, exactly like that. They were like, "Where you from, Hanover? Fuck Hanover." Like, this is exactly what I want in this movie. However, like there was 6 kids who were kind of the leads of the movie. I shouldn't say leads. There was like only one lead of the movie, but there was 6 kids who were kind of like the friend group. None of them had Boston accents, which bothered me.
Huh.
but all of the adults in the movie had Boston accents.
Huh.
So it was like, and some of the adults didn't. Some of them did. Some of them tried harder. Some of them leaned into it harder. I was like, I was like, they should have really made a deliberate choice. Like Eli Roth should have said, like, okay, everybody just do a Boston accent the best that you can, right?
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, like, just do it.
Yeah, just do it. And that, I think that would have been better. It kind of would have created a almost like a big budget regional horror movie, which I do enjoy those.
Mm.
You know, those horror movies that are like centered around one small location, and it's like everyone's like a local type thing.
Yeah, that's the like, what is it?
Boggy
Yeah.
Creek is the one I always go. This is my go-to like local horror movie.
Okay, or what? Lake Placid.
That's a more of a bigger budget. I'm talking like more low budget, like, you know, the guys who do it in their backyard.
Oh yeah,
Wisconsin has a ton of those.
I'll say, what's the one with the kids who put their hands on the handprints on the car?
Oh God, I don't know that one.
I don't know. Right? It's a local urban myth from around here, and it became a feature film.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to like a Chicago local horror movie, just watch Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer. It's basically my childhood.
That's true.
It's like, you want to see where Joe grew up, go watch Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer.
Good old Michael Rooker.
Yeah. South side of Chicago. I remember watching that recently and just going like, hey, that's my house. Oh, speaking of local horror, did you know who that the guy who shot Lee Harvey Oswald, Jack Ruby?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He is buried less than a 5-minute walk from the John Wayne Gacy house.
Hey, all right.
There you go. That's a Chicago true crime connection made right there.
That's a very fun fact.
Mm-hmm. And it's, you know, right by O'Hare Airport. So next time you guys are over at Anime Con or whatever, you're up over at Rosemont, you can go see the John Wayne Gacy house and Jack Ruby's grave.
What a fun adventure.
Well, what else is there to do in Rosemont aside from giving money to the mafia?
Anyway.
Exactly. Good time. So, Steve, we got some game classy stuff to talk about today.
Do we?
Yeah, we got to talk about the fight phase for the old world.
The world that's old.
The world that's old. They released partial rules for the fight phase.
Yes.
And it's very interesting. I think the biggest change, of course, is that if you get they have now breaking, there's 3 different things that happen. You either give ground, you fall back, or you break and flee.
Yes, yeah, they added the War of the Ring thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure that's been around longer than War of the Ring, but yes.
Yeah, someone said it was an old thing from like 3rd ed fantasy. Which
yeah, I think I was gonna say I think it's from that far back. I've never played 3rd ed fantasy.
Neither did I.
Yeah, it's a little bit before our time.
Yeah, for sure. 3rd ed fantasy's got to be that's got to be like 80s, right?
Maybe late 90s, in early 90s, because I think 4th ed came out like around 93, 94. I want to say,
because I mean, the first fantasy I like saw and like was exposed to was definitely 5th.
Mine was late 4th, early 5th. I never played 4th edition, but I had a bunch of the rule books. I played mostly 5th in my early playing days.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I played was 2nd edition 40K.
Got a stasis grenade.
I had the Eldar.
Yeah, I had a Wood Elf army for 5th edition. That's what my first.
Did you have those the Wood Elf with the arm out holding the bow?
Yeah, of course. The plastics.
I love those plastics.
Oh yeah, they were so great. It's like one of those things where it's like I'd like to go back and build a 5th edition Wood Elf army, but I'm also like I have so much shit I don't need to do that. Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about the combat. So things that changed. Did they say that everyone in the front rank gets the fight? I think that's what they said.
Yes, I'm pretty sure. Let me bring up the article so we're having accurate coverage.
Yeah, so it's like I believe in the new edition, everybody who's in the front rank gets to fight. So there's no like, well, this person's not touching, so they don't get to fight kite thing.
Yeah, that's the worst actually. I hate that shit.
Yeah, I think it's like everyone gets to fight in the front rank. Because I think a lot of people are talking like, well, I'll just do a 10-man front rank, and it's like, But yes, everyone in the front rank gets to fight. Weapon skill to hit and weapon skill to and to wound look about the same as the old style.
Yes, it does. It does look like it is exactly the same as the old style. Because if you have double +1, that goes to 5+. So if your weapon skill 2, you're hitting on 4s against 2, 3, 4, and then once you hit 5, it goes to 5+. And then so weapon skill 3, you go to 5+ when they're at 7. Yeah, that chart does look the same as far as I can tell.
Yes, and so then I think one of the minor changes is they changed how combat results end up. So you get +1 for unsaved wounds. No, 1 point for each unsaved wound. +1 for rank bonus, but it doesn't say up to 3 like it used to. So I'm wondering if it's like, can you have like infinite rank bonus?
Maybe. Yeah, it does just say +1 point per rank.
Yeah. Plus you get +1 for standard, +1 for battle standard, +1 if you're in a flank, +2 if you're rear. Which
high ground is a new one.
Yeah, high ground is a new one. So if you have the moral high ground while you're fighting, you get +1 bonus.
Yes.
You get a +1 for overkill, excessive wounds, and then other bonuses as applicable. So I don't know what those are, but I know that the high ground is new. And then you get your break test, which is that if you fail, you give ground. I know, if you pass, you give ground. If it's the same, or no, if you fail on a modified higher roll, but you pass because of your regular leadership. So if your normal leadership is a 7, but because of all of the negative modifiers, you have like a 5, but you roll a 6, right? Or no?
Yeah, the only way to, so the way it works now is if you pass your leadership test after modifiers, you give ground.
Yes.
If you fail,
I predicted that on the cast. I will stand by my prediction.
Yeah, if you fail your leadership test, modified, you do something called fallback in good order.
Well, and no, then, it's if your normal leadership, let's say, is 7, right? But because of the negative modifiers, you have to roll below a 5, right? And you roll a 6, you would fall back in good order because technically you failed leadership, but
that's correct.
But you're past your normal unmodified leadership.
Correct. That's what I said. The only way to break from combat now is to roll over your leadership score, like your actual leadership score.
Your actual leadership score, yes.
Yes. So if your leadership is 8 and you roll a 9, 10, 11, or 12, that is the only way you will break.
Yes.
So like you cannot so you can't do the thing anymore where you're like -11 and you're auto braking. That all that it means is auto braking is gone.
Yes.
Auto braking is gone. It's a very complicated way to just say that. Like auto braking is now gone.
You know what? This is good for, I think, especially orc players.
It's good for everyone. I mean, it's good for everyone who isn't immune to psych, who doesn't have an immune to psych army.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like basically like across the board, like it's a huge buff towards like every army that isn't already busted.
But I don't think that they said what fallback in good order is.
They did not, but I mean, we can only assume that fallback in good order means you're not going to actually turn around and run.
Yeah, you're kind of like just backing away, kind of, I guess.
Yes, which is, I mean, we'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah, we will.
And then, of course, you have your overrun and all of that fun stuff.
Now it does say there. So now this gleans something, which I believe is interesting. We'll have to see how that actually plays out. But in the pursuit part,
trivial pursuit,
it does say if a unit flees or falls back, if you catch a fleeing unit, so break and destroy, it's cut down and destroyed, which is normal. But then it also says if you catch a unit falling back, combat begins again, and the pursuer counts as having charged.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. I wonder if that means that you're actually going to have multiple combats a turn with I
mean, maybe. Unit. That's interesting. I didn't think about it that way.
Yeah. Huh. So that might be that. So that I'm thinking that's what fallback in good order is like a very big, because the drive back is supposed to be like really short, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
Like it's or give ground. Give ground is like really short.
Yeah, give ground is only like an inch, I think.
Yeah. So presumably, what I would guess, and this is obviously like they need to explain it, but my guess is if you give ground, the unit it does a follow up, which is a unit that gave ground. You re-enter combat a few inches forward. So it specifically says you can re-enter combat. So if the opponent gives ground, you can choose to just follow up. Like you can just be like, all right, so we're fighting again. You can also restrain, so you just leave them out of combat. And then the other one is pursue, which is a unit that flees or falls back. So yeah, I'm not sure. There's going to need to be a little bit of a clarification there, but it seems like there's going to be multiple melee combats resolved in a turn.
Yeah, that could be interesting.
I mean, it should be good because one of the biggest problems with fantasy was just time. Like it just like games. Not that the games actually took so long, but you only had so many actual like active turns to fight stuff.
Yeah.
So like bogging shit down was like an obnoxious strategy that was very effective. So if you get multiple fights in a turn, that means that immediately like kind of like nerfs damage sponges from being able to just draw games.
You got to say it like Paul Hollywood. Sponge.
Gotta hit this sponge. Your sponge is dry, mate.
Well, I mean, so we got the fight phase. I think I don't know what we have left in terms because the fight phase, combat. We have combat, shooting, movement, strategy. Oh, morale is the last one that we would need to see, and morale and psychology, which I know you're very interested in.
Yes, I am.
So we'll be able to figure out if it's going to be as broke busted as 7th to 8th edition, as opposed to kind of broke busted as 5th 6th edition.
Yes, I don't think it will be. I think also they specifically stated that there's no demon armies. So
well, and that's something interesting because that's going to lead into what we're talking about with AOS. But I read a really interesting rumor of why Skaven is not included in the original Old World releases. And it's because the next edition of AOS is supposedly going to have Skaven as the big bads. So they don't want to have Skaven in both the Old World and AOS. They're really kind of separating out the armies that are going to have a large AOS footprint from the Old World. So Skaven and Vampire Counts are two in particular, because right now a lot of the undead stuff is really big in the AOS, and especially the ghouls. The ghouls are like huge right now. They got a whole major release going on.
They look very cool. I like the gigantic Ghoul King. He's pretty dope.
Yes, and which is funny because he's the Ghoul King from the Old World.
Yeah, that's the idea. He's just gotten that old and that big.
I know he's great looking. It's a great looking figure.
Yeah, it's a great looking model. I really like the new release. I think it's really good. I think they all look really nice. Yeah, it should be a fun army. They finally have more than one infantry unit.
Yeah, I mean seriously, they got like a whole bunch of stuff now, including that giant courtier, the one that looks like the giant bat.
Yeah, very, very cool. I also really like their not Pegasus Knights, the Bat Riders.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, those guys look great.
I do really like the idea of them thinking that they are true nobility. It's just like, it's a fun little concept. I like it.
One of the best AOS lore books is it's told from two perspectives. It's the Stormcast that are fighting the Ghoul army, and then the Ghoul army. So like, there's a part where one of the
book. I would like to read that one.
It is. Hang on, I will find it. I'll find the name for you later and I'll link it to you. But like, there's one part where like the Ghoul is like, from his perspective, he's like issuing like a noble challenge to like a Stormcast champion. He's like, face me on the field of battle, Sir Knight. I've witnessed your skill. And then it like cuts to the Stormcast perspective, and the Ghoul's just like gibbering, like spitting spit everywhere. yeah, he's murlocking.
Yes, he's murlocking.
Yeah, it's great.
Forgot about murlocs for a second.
Ah, shit, Murlocs. Yes. It's good.
Yes. But we got to see all of those at the World Championships of Warhammer.
There's Nagash, the Undying King.
Okay.
That is one that has a lot of POV perspectives from them. I think that's what I'm thinking of. And then Ghoul Slayer as well. Ghoul Slayer has a ton.
That might, yeah, okay. That's the Go Trek one, right?
Yeah, that's the Go Trek one. Yeah, Ghoul Slayer has a ton. I would definitely recommend Ghoul Slayer. Yeah, so Nagash the Undying King and Ghoul Slayer, those are the two that have a lot of Flesh Eater Court perspective stuff.
So speaking of the World Championships, just a couple of the releases. There's a new model for Orakan the Diviner. So if you have read the Orakan book, the Necron Orakan book, which is the Infinite and the Divine, which I think is probably one of the greatest 40K books that's been released in probably the last 10 years. If you haven't read it, go read it, or get the audiobook, which is also pretty great as well.
I do like Necrons.
It's not even if you like Necrons. It's just a fantastic sci-fi book. It's two old enemies that are just constantly fighting across 10,000 years of being Necrons, and it's kind of like it's very much that trope of like they kind of seem like they were lovers at
enemies
one point.
To lovers.
Yeah, enemies. Oh no, they were lovers to enemies.
Oh, lovers to enemies.
Yeah,
lovers to enemies to lovers.
They're kind of like two old gay men who are just angry at each other, nice. And it's kind of wonderful to read.
Just having a falling out.
Yes. And then there's a bunch of Dark Angels that it's like, oh, they look like Dark Angels. Great.
The dangles.
Nothing fun there. Like the Orakan is fine. It's just it kind of looks like the old Orakan model. There's some new Oryx for Underworlds, the Stab Lads.
I can't believe that they're still doing Underworlds models.
I can't believe it either. I mean, good for them, but I mean, they really changed that game since the last time we played. It's like a completely different system now. Not system, but a completely different play collect style.
Yeah, because it's mostly like just you get the box and you do the thing.
Yeah, pretty much at this point. They did release though Horus Heresy Assault Marines, so plastic Assault Marines for the new Beaky armor. But I think it was funny because
Beakies.
Because the original joke was when they released Legionis Imperialis or Legions Imperialis, the epic, when they first showed it, they had plastic Assault Marines there, and I was like, huh, looks like the epic is getting plastic Assault Marines before Horus Heresy is, and everyone was like, ha 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 ha, and here it is. 4 months later after the massive delay of 4 months, and Epic still got out the plastic Assault Marines before the 32 millimeter scale Horus Heresy.
Phenomenal.
Yes, and according to the last episode of the podcast, we were correct. Literally an hour, not even an hour, like 15 minutes after I posted the podcast, they were like, hey, it's up for pre-order, guys.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
Yeah. And I was like, I'm fucking right. I knew it. God damn it. It does not that it matters.
Yeah. People seem to be kind of excited about it. Maybe. I don't know. It's weird. I don't think a 2-faction game is very exciting.
Well, I was going to talk about it in a minute, so we'll hold on to that thought because that's what I wanted to talk about after this. They released the Tauros Venator for Necromunda. That's the cool car thing that they used to have for the Elysian drop troops.
Oh yeah, the choo-choo.
World.
Yeah. It looks like a train, right?
No. This is like a little dune buggy.
Oh, okay, different thing.
Yes, this is a little dune buggy. It was for the Elysians.
Little dune buggy.
But now it's like it's for the what's it called? The Arbites, I think, use it now.
Yes.
The Arbites.
The Judge Dreads.
I am the law.
I am the law.
But they don't look like Judge Dredd anymore.
Yeah, that's a shame.
Yeah.
Probably copyright or whatever.
I mean, I'm 100% sure that's the reason.
Yeah.
Now there's a new kill team for Night Lords that actually looks pretty badass. If you that's what Chaos Marines should look like to me, are Night Lords. And so this new box set is like, yes, this is what Chaos Marines should look like. I dig them. I don't think I'm gonna buy the box set, not in the least, but I think it's pretty cool looking.
Night Lords are cool.
They're cool in like, I really like the Crow in the 1990s kind of way.
Yeah. Who didn't like the Crow in the 1990s?
Yes. I played Vampire the Masquerade down at the Riverwalk in Naperville.
That's right.
I was just talking about that with a buddy during my D&D game. We were talking about the Vampire the Masquerade.
There were a couple of big games. There was a big game in Naperville. There was a big game in Lombard, and there was a big game at COD.
Yes, and
That's
we're
where they
just
were.
talking about how it's like you don't see that anymore out here. And I go, well, Vampire the Masquerade, there's a lot of problems with the player base.
Well, it also kind of fell out of favor as well.
Well, yeah, I was like, after they released Gehenna in the early 2000s, I know a lot of players dropped the game.
Yeah.
But there's like a lot of players, it became like way too sexual for some people.
That's true.
And it's like, oh, I want to play this fun game. Well, we're gonna have to play the vampire, and we're gonna bite each other. Like, oh, it's like, come on, we don't.
I've been really trying, baby.
Yeah, it's like we don't need to be this sexual about the game. We're pretending to be vampires. It's there is an issue with adult men role playing where it's like, why does everything got to be sexual with you, man? Just go get on FetLife and just play out your fantasies that way. I want to play my vampire game.
Get on FetLife.
I'm not kink shaming. I'm just saying this isn't for the sexual thing.
It's true. I mean, we should have things, appropriate actions.
Yeah. We don't. Not everything has to be sexual. Like, my vampire game doesn't need to have sex in it. I mean, like, maybe it could, but it doesn't have to be the focus here. I'm trying to negotiate a truce. I blame the werewolves and the vampires.
I blame Interview with the Vampire.
Really? I blame Buffy.
Ooh, Buffy's a good call too.
Yeah,
I blame both.
Yeah. Well, Interview with the Vampire, I think was no, because Buffy the Vampire Slayer was the reason that I think Twilight was Buffy fanfic, right?
No. Twilight was what was
I know it was inspired by Gerard Way.
Yeah. Hang on. Was Twilight?
But I swear, I think it was Buffy fanfic.
No. It wasn't. It was something else. It was a fanfic. But I can't remember what it was. It was 50 Shades of Grey.
No, 50 Shades of Grey was Twilight fanfiction.
Oh, okay. Yes, that's what it was. Yes. Right.
So 50 Shades of Grey was so the meme is that Gerard Way, when he was writing whatever the fuck that band was, not Fall Out, is it Fall Out Boy? I don't remember. But his emo band, he was inspired by September 11th to form an emo band. Stephanie Meyer, who wrote Twilight, was inspired by that band to help write that.
Twilight was My Chemical Romance fan fiction.
My Chemical Romance. There you go. That, not Fall Out Boy. My Chemical Romance.
Yes.
And then the person who wrote 50 Shades of Grey was inspired by Twilight, so therefore 9/11 caused 50 Shades of Grey.
There we go. That's what it was. Okay.
Yes, that's the meme. But I think Twilight actually was like Buffy fan fiction. But yeah, who knows? Who cares? I don't read any of that stuff. I only read the greatest Warhammer fantasy novels.
Yes, exactly.
And then the thing I want to talk about with you is the Necrolith Bone Dragon.
I think it looks dope. I'm excited about it.
I just like anything that's called a bone anything.
Yeah.
Bone dragon.
A bone lord, a bone dragon, a bone
saw.
A bone saw.
Ooh, you come down here. Did your mama make that outfit for you?
Ooh, there's an edit of Macho Man, which is just 14 seconds of him breathing, where he's like, ooh, and then he's like, get me to the boiling point, and it's over. It's the funniest fucking shit. I fucking laugh.
Cream rises to the top.
That's right. Always to the top with the cream of the crop.
So much cocaine.
Oh yeah, that dude was on an absolutely absurd amount of cocaine.
Are you gonna watch the Steel Claw when it comes out?
The Steel Claw? I have not heard of the Steel Claw. What is the Steel Claw?
It's a very serious like wrestling movie that's being put out by I think A24.
Oh, is it a sequel to The Wrestler?
No, I mean it kind of looks like it almost now that you mention it. But it's is it called Steel Claw? It's something. It's like the Iron Claw maybe. Mm-hmm. I gotta look this up. It's about like this wrestling family.
It's the Iron Claw. It's the Iron Claw.
Yeah, the Iron Claw. Yeah.
Oh, it's real. It's about the Von Erich brothers.
Yeah, and I don't know who any of them are and anything like that. But I was wondering if you had heard of it, if you were excited, because I know you're kind of a wrestling fan.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I was a huge big wrestling fan, back in the day. I haven't watched wrestling in forever, but I mean, I do think wrestling is the most ridiculous shit ever. Like the fucking clip of John Cena talking about Osama bin Laden is the fucking most hilarious shit ever. That just wrestling is so surreal. Like watching like wrestling clips is like it's like, is this like, what the fuck is happening? We've compromised to a permanent end. Osama bin Laden. And everyone was like, yay! It's fucking insane.
Yeah, I don't know too much about I liked I think we've talked about it. I watched the Superstars in the Attitude Era.
Yep, that's where I watched most of the stuff, and then everything else is kind of clips.
Yeah, I never was like a huge anything after that. Like my son likes watching it every once in a while, but then he goes like, all right, while we're watching wrestling, we're gonna wrestle. And I'm like, okay. And then I try to wrestle him and he's like, no, you don't do anything. You just let me pin you. Or you just let me hurt you while we watch wrestling. That's kind of what it becomes.
I also really like there's a current wrestler who I think is hilarious. His gimmick is he's like so good he doesn't need to use his hands, so he wrestles with his hands in his pockets.
I mean, that's pretty funny.
Yeah, it is really funny. There's a clip of him like kind of like just like softly like kicking another dude's shins with his hands in his pockets. It's really funny.
What about the person who lays the Legos on the mat and then slams the guy onto the Legos?
Oh, not the Legos. That's too far.
He's bringing out the Legos.
Bringing out the Legos. By God.
Yeah, there was a preview for it yesterday in front of Thanksgiving, and I was like, I thought this movie was going to be a little bit more fun, but apparently it's like a super serious movie, and I'm like, eh.
Yeah, I'd pass on it actually, to be honest.
Like if
out of my alley.
I would like to see a Boogie Nights style movie about wrestling that's kind of like the heyday of 80s like superstar wrestling, but it's like it's fun to watch, but there's like you get a lot of the behind the scenes stuff with a lot of the cocaine and the abuse and all of that shit.
Yeah,
physically hurting their body.
I would also be found for like just a silly movie. Like that's also good.
But you don't need a silly movie because wrestling in and of itself is silly. But I would like to see
That's true.
Yeah. I would like to see like a kind of what I'm saying with the Iron Claw is that it's just all serious. And I'm like, there's, you got to have some fun with it because these people didn't do it because it was hard. They did it because it was fun to do.
Yeah.
Well, and there was a lot of cocaine.
And the drugs. There's a lot of drugs.
Yes, a lot of drugs. I always go to cocaine as my usual 80s drug. There probably was other drugs that people were doing back then, but
oh, no doubt.
Yeah, whereas why weren't people doing more cocaine?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean,
cocaine and Quaaludes are all I can think about.
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely like a huge amount of speed for sure, and then probably painkillers. That one's less.
Yeah, it's not as fun.
Yeah, it's not as sexy.
No, because you know what you do on painkillers?
Be sad.
You just enjoy life. That's what you do. You're like, you know what? Nothing bothers me right now.
Yeah, like life is actually not. Life is worth living.
It's not that life is worth living. It's just like, you know what? That doesn't bother me anymore. As a person who has like a bunch of painkillers that I don't use regularly, trust me, I only use them very once in a while because they make me constipated, and the come down off of them is horrible. It's just almost as bad as the pain. But I can tell you, before Thanksgiving, when it's getting a little bit like I don't want to have to deal with my crazy racist uncle, you take a painkiller and you don't have to worry about it anymore.
That's true. Suddenly your uncle just seems a little less crazy.
I mean, he doesn't seem less crazy. It's just that you just care less about him being crazy.
There you go. Okay.
Yes.
Fair.
But anyway, back to the Bone Dragon before we talked about the bone saw.
Bone Dragon.
Bone Dragon.
Bone Dragon is ready.
I think some people were complaining about it because of its goofy head.
It doesn't look as goofy. So the initial picture, it looks goofy as shit, but there's a picture from a side angle and it looks fine.
Yeah, I think part of the problem is that there's two things. One, it is a model that will never photograph well, which is not good. No. GW has to think about that when they're putting together their models now because of Instagram and that whole like drive to get other people to approve of your paint jobs, that you have to have models that photograph well.
Yes.
I'm not saying that that's the only thing, but that's something they should think about. The head is a little goofy on it, and the paint job isn't that great on it. The paint job is great on the mummy.
The choice of
in the white background.
White background that's pretty.
It's really dumb. If you look, some of the pictures have like a grayish background, and it looks much better. But you probably should have photographed that against a black background, and it would have looked much better.
Yeah, I'll concur.
But GW doesn't like doing that because their website is an all white background, so they don't want to make it look like it's going to clash against the background of the normal website.
Is their website all white background? Because I can't fucking tell.
Warhammer Community is an all white background. Yeah,
I see. Yeah, I'll say because the fuck I was making a riff on their new website sucking.
Oh, their new website? No one knows because no one goes to their new website anymore because it's trash.
That's right. It's so fucking bad. I tried to find I literally just tried to find a fucking orc 40k orc starter kit, just like the combat patrol. I was like, wonder how much the orc combat patrol is. It took an actual I found it. Like I gotta say I didn't find it because I did find it, but holy shit. Did it take an absolute unfucking reasonable amount of time to find that shit?
Well, I was talking about this with someone. I don't remember who it was, but one of the things that Games Workshop really, shit the bed on with the new website is like the website itself should be a resource for if you are looking up a model to like see like, how should I paint this? Is this the type of model that I want? Is this what I'm looking for type thing? As well as to buy, right?
Yes.
So 100%. It's like, I want to buy something that's I want to buy a Chaos Space Marine, right? It should be easy to find the Chaos Space Marines and not go through like 1,000 clicks. Find good pictures of the Chaos Space Marines that you could either imitate or do whatever with. And then it should be easy to be like, hey, you're looking at this model. Do you want to buy it? That's the way to get people to buy your shit.
Yep.
But there should also be with it a kind of an archive when it comes to older models. Like there should be an archive part of the site that says models that are no longer produced by Games Workshop or are out of print. So that way you could be like, hey, you want this Bretonnian knight, you could look at the archive section to see it, right? And Games Workshop through their website could see how many people are clicking on what older model. And it's like, hey, we got like 1,000 people clicked on this older model. Maybe we should re-release it. You know?
I agree. Do you remember the old catalog?
Yeah, the blue catalog. The greatest catalog ever produced.
Yes, the website should just be that.
Yeah, exactly. It should be like, hey, look at this one old model. This is, the old metal GW Dwarf Slayer model, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, there should be a little thing like, there'll be a counter on that site where it says like this model got 18 clicks, this model got 32 clicks, so that way GW knows like, hey, this model's got a lot of traction, maybe we should re-release this old model in resin or whatever as like a limited time thing so we can make some money off of it.
Yep. And
also then people could go back and look at the old models when they need to or get reference on stuff like that. But no, they always rely on like another company like what's it called? It's WOC, I think it is. Why can't I think of the name of the fucking website? There's a website that keeps all the old GW catalogs. Like they're all scanned, so you can go and look at them.
You got me on this one. I don't know this one. I know there's the like, what the fuck was it called? The shit. The way back thing, something. Fuck.
No.
I know because the one he's got pictures of like the super old ancient Games Workshop shit, right?
Yes, it's Stuff of Legends. That's what
Stuff
it is.
Of Legends.
SOL.
Yes.
SOL, not yeah. SOL.
There we go.
That Stuff of Legends is the place that I usually go to when I'm looking at the old catalogs and that fun stuff.
Yes, there it is.
Yeah. But okay, so Legions Imperialis, I wanted to talk about this because once everything got released for the box set and everything was set, people started looking at the point costs of everything based on the GW the White Dwarf issue that had all the battle reports and everything in it. Is it basically in order to get the 3,000 points for like one side that they showed in the battle report, you need something like $3,000 worth of product.
Jesus.
It's like a ridiculous amount of stuff. The cost of that game to play is insanely high. And people are kind of like, what?
That is crazy. See, that's the thing. I didn't think it was that. So that's a good example, because like I didn't think it was that expensive, because I was fooled apparently, because I was just like, oh, everything's $50 and the box is $200. I guess it's not that expensive of a game. Turns out I was wrong.
Yeah, it's way higher.
The price, the MSRP per box is misleading because of how many boxes you need, right? That's
basically it.
Yeah.
So, you know what my thing is like when it was originally released. Here we go. So the price to play 3,000 points is $800. MSRP $1,010. And the other one to play is $800 off the 2 costs. So it's like, just to play a 3,000 point game, it's going to cost you upwards of $1,000 for a side game of Games Workshop. I'm not talking like 40K. This is epic. This is not something that should cost that much.
That is crazy.
Yeah. And that's from Spiky Bits, which I don't actually always recommend, but
it's also funny too, because when you think about it like this, Epic used to be an inexpensive side game.
Well, I think all the GW side games should be inexpensive to play. They should be one of those things that Games Workshop's like, hey, people are getting a little tired of 40K right now. We should have a side game that they could play to kind of refresh them and get them back into 40K later. Hey, and not let them forget about 40K. So we have Kill Team or Legions Imperialis. They should never be more expensive than the core game to play.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that's always what's great about like Warcry and stuff like that, is like base cost is $30, or I shouldn't say 30. It's like $60 for your little warband, and that's it. And you could use your own figures from your own armies to play.
Yes.
And so that, but it'll always bring you back to AOS. Legions Imperialis should always bring you back to 40K, but no one's going to play it for $1,000 if that's what they need. What they're going to do is they're going to spend $200 on a 3D printer and then print all their shit. Like
yeah, that seems pretty likely. I mean, that's crazy. That is a wild amount of
I'll post it on our Discord. I have printed out close to 3,000 points of Legions Imperialis just for myself. And I'm not doing it because I really want to play the game. I have one guy I know who wants to play the game, and I'm going to play with him, but I'm doing it just to kind of prove the fact that it doesn't that to print it that's just as good as the GW stuff is super cheap.
Yeah, that's wild. Yeah, well, that's it. Like that's one of the things where like I do think like in that game specifically, like that scale, that's where 3D printing is like incredibly good.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think for most 40K stuff, 3D printing is great. So,
yeah, I'm still on the fence simply because of the material. I don't want the resin. I want the.
Yeah. Well, you also play AOS, and 3D printing's not great for AOS.
This is true. That is true.
Mainly because AOS is so IP specific in many things. There are people who do sort of lookalikes of AOS stuff, but it's never as it's off enough that you're just kind of like, meh.
Doesn't look right.
It doesn't look quite right. Old World, don't even worry about it because there's so much stuff for it.
Oh yeah. I mean, Old World, there's like infinite options for Old World. There's 3D printing. There's so many other companies that make fantasy models.
Yeah. And not to mention the fact that for a long time you could buy actual Games Workshop fantasy models for next to nothing.
Right.
But yeah, the Legions Imperialis, it was delayed for 4 months. B, cost that much.
Yeah, that's
and
wild.
C, you get 2 armies that are incompatible in the core box, so you can't combine them to one army. Like, so it's even less cost effective.
Yeah, that's fucking wild.
Yeah, it's pretty,
well, I mean, presumably you'd want to split the core box, which is like, okay, yeah, like fine, like I get that, like it's like, okay, we're gonna split the core box, but minus that part, like the fact that you need so much more shit than what is offered in the core box is like that's the part that I'm like, no, I'm good.
Well, it always makes me laugh about Horus Heresy, anything Horus Heresy, right? So Legions Imperialis is a Horus Heresy game, so it should be Marines versus Marines, right?
Yes.
And anytime you have a game like that where it's like everyone should be playing Marines versus Marines in Horus Heresy. That's what makes Horus Heresy fun. Is like pretty much everything's baseline the same. And there's like a bunch of special stuff inside.
Right. And I was about to say, like, that's the only reason that Horus Heresy works as a game is because there's so many, there's 2 factions, but many armies in Horus Heresy.
Yeah. So it's like anytime, but the real truth is anytime you have a game like that, where it's like this game works if everybody plays Marines, there's always going to be like everyone else in your game group is going to want to play the one army that's different. So you're like, okay, we're gonna play Horus Heresy. I'm gonna play Imperial Guard. I'm gonna play the Admech. I'm gonna play the Custodians. And you're just like, God fucking damn you all. You suck. Every one of you is a terrible human being. It's like anytime someone says, hey, we should have a Necromunda campaign. And then there's the one person who's like, I'm going to play the Spires. And you're like, God damn it. Why do you have to play the one army that breaks everything?
Yes. Why do you have to play the actual like army that ruins the fucking game?
Yeah. We're going to do a Battlefleet Gothic army. I'm going to play the Necrons. God,
I've got a Necron army. It's like, oh, okay, well,
where you're not playing now.
There goes the Battlefleet Gothic.
Yeah. I mean, it's like seriously every time. And it's always the same fucking person who's doing it, right? It's always that guy who's older, who's slightly balding, has glasses, overweight, and it's like periphery of your game group where you're just kind of like, you keep them along because you know they have a bunch of stuff and they can play, but it's always that person who wants to bring the one broken army into your game.
Counterpoint, it could also be the one guy who accidentally has the broken army, like, and who wants to do the same faction that they play in 40K.
Maybe sometimes,
because I mean, like if they're a Necron player in 40K and they're like, I want to do Necrons in Battlefield Gothic because I play the Necrons in 40K. Like Necrons in 40K suck ass, so you know, so it's not that they're a power game.
Yeah. No, I always it's like it's like that. But the other person I hate for 30K, it has nothing to do with what we're talking about. Is the person who's like, I play Dark Angels, so I'm just gonna play Dark Angels in a Horus Heresy. Like, no, we're doing like a build thing where we're building up our army over time so we could, play smaller games and then get bigger. Well, I already have a Dark Angel army, so I'm gonna play, but they don't look like 30K Dark Angels. It's like, no, I'm just gonna play Dark Angels, and you're just like, fuck you. Well, I'm gonna play my Space Wolves, but they don't look like 30K Space Wolves. Well, they look the same. It's like, no, they're a different color. It's like, nah. It's like, well. This is why no one wants to play games with you. And then there's always person like, how come no one wants to play games with me? Like, this is the reason.
All I'm saying is that this is why you don't play with randos at the game store.
Yeah. I mean, these aren't randos, though. These people who end up being in your game group.
Yeah, that's why you just gotta, slowly but surely weed them out.
Slowly, yet surely bleed them out. That's a good way of putting it. But no, if you know where to look, all of the Epic stuff in scale with the new scale has already been released through 3D printing. And
it's not a new scale. It's in the Adeptus Imperialis scale.
Adeptus Titanicus scale.
Titanicus, that's the one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a newer scale.
It's newer than old Epic, I guess.
It's not an Epic. It's not Epic scale. It's not that 6mm. It's 8mm.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, but everything's out there, and I know I've helped some people already, and they're like, "Are you sure this is all resized?" I'm like, "Yeah, pretty much everything is resized." People just didn't like painting 6mm, so they were like, "Oh, we're just gonna do everything in."
I mean, I will say, I do think doing it as Horus Heresy is incredibly stupid. They should have just done Epic because like people actually want to play like orcs and shit.
They say they want to, but they never do.
I mean, that's the meme, but like they're like. There's always people who actually.
No, I know. There's people who would want to play that, but that's the whole thing is Games Workshop realizes that they have less cost if everybody's playing Marines.
Right. I mean, I get it. It's just cheaping out.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no. It's cheap. It's cheaping out, but making the price so outrageous. I don't know. That's the. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. Like because if it was a cost saving measure and they made the price not insane, I'd be like, okay, like I get it. I'd agree with that. But like because the price is crazy, like you'd think because your price is crazy, you'd want to appeal to more players rather than less because your price is insane. I don't know. I can't.
No, you're pretty right. You're right on it. It's like they don't. There's always that. When you take basic economics in American high school class, you always learn about supply and demand, and about like cost. Like how much can we put up the cost where people's demand for it, where it's like people's demand starts shrinking off.
Right.
And it's like Games Workshop always just prices it up a little higher than it needs to. But I always feel that part of it is because they understand that if they make it affordable, if they make it too affordable, they'll flood the secondary market, right? Because people will just eventually get rid of their shit.
Right.
So if they make it expensive enough, the secondary market always kind of stays at that point where it's like, it's not quite cheap enough to go secondary to buy used, right?
Maybe.
I think that's like their strategy.
I still stand by that. They don't actually have a strategy and they just kind of do whatever.
Dart at the wall.
Yeah, dart at the wall. I still stand by that you dart at the wall, because there's been so many occasions where like there was the rumor for a while where they're like the dollar value is kind of related to how many points the models are, and it's just like that was very swiftly like nah. It's like no, not at all.
Nah. It's not true at all. Not true at all.
Yeah, it's just whatever. Yeah, so I don't know. I am I'd like to know. I'd really like to know if there's an actual like thought process to it. I still stand by. I think it's literally just dartboard.
I mean, it could very well be. I'm not 100% sure on that. So that's about all the GW news that I wanted to talk about. I know it was a lot this week, but there, a lot of stuff happened. Whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. I don't know. I'm doing my Black Friday shopping today, and by Black Friday shopping, I'm just going to the game store today. That's about it. That's all I'm doing. I mean, have you heard about the game Wandering Towers?
I've not heard about the game Wandering Towers.
It's an interesting little board game that came out. I think it was last year-ish. 2022. Sorry, I just brought it up on the Board Game Geek. It looks really kind of like a fun family game. I might try and pick that up today. All right. As a it's from Eberkespiel. It's a German. I'm out. But it's about wizards having to, like, you go along this track with wizards, but you keep on, like, wizards have the ability to like move buildings through magic, and the towers will like trap other wizards so they can't move along the trail. I think it's interesting looking enough that I kind of like it, and it doesn't look too complicated. There's not like a bajillion tokens with it.
Well, maybe.
Yeah, it looks like it looks like a good pub game, almost not a pub game. Let's say a microbrewery game, like a game where you go to a microbrewery and they have like those picnic benches set up, and you're drinking.
What is the board game cafe? I think
kind of like a board game cafe game. Yeah. But it's small enough that it fits on a small table, so that's what makes it nice.
I mean, I do like that. So that was every time I see a picture of like a Euro game and there's just like a million fucking colored cubes, I'm always just like, ugh.
Yeah, no, this is definitely not a million bits game. It's only a few. Like, what was the game that I was looking at the other day? Oh, Food Chain Magnet.
Food Chain Magnet is like,
the first picture on Board Game Geek is a bajillion little cards and tokens, and I'm like,
yeah, and people fucking love that game.
They do. It's like the hot new game.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't understand the board game. I don't understand the board game mentality anyway. But whatever.
Yeah,
I get, like, if you had like, I get the Kingdom Death style where like you're like, this is my game. Like, this is the game I play. Like, I play Kingdom Death.
This is my game. There are many like it, but this one is mine.
There actually aren't many like it, but
no, there are not many. There's like 2 or 3 that are like Kingdom Death. That's about it.
But like, I get it from that perspective, where it's like, the hobby is this specific game, which makes sense because so many board games are just that level of complicated, where it's just like, it's like, this board game is so fucking complicated, you can just keep playing the same board game. But that's not how board gamers work. Board gamers pick up a super complicated board game, kind of learn it, kind of get their play group to play it. The play group is annoyed because the game's too fucking complicated.
Yeah.
And then they never ever play it again. I don't get the board game player loop is not something I understand. It's not something I've ever really gotten. I don't know. I've had many, obviously, I'm in the tabletop world, so I've had many friends who are very much into board games, and every time I'm just like, you know what? I don't think the only board game I've ever successfully played with multiple people multiple times is fucking House on Haunted Hill. Betrayal
on the House on Haunted Hill.
Yeah, that's the only game that I've successfully played because that game requires no fucking investment. It's can you roll dice and read?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. I've always felt like the easiest ones are the ones that everyone knows. It's Carcassonne, Catan, Ticket to Ride. Those are the ones that are easy enough that everybody kind of gets and will play.
Yeah. The new monopolies, so to speak.
The new monopolies, yeah. That's and they're not like there's enough like easy strategy in those games that it's like once you learn it, you're like, oh, cool, I get this. So there's at least it's not like where it's just complete randomness of Monopoly or Sorry or anything like that. Another game that I was thinking of picking up was one from last year as well. It was it's Heat. Have you heard of Heat?
Is it based off the film?
No, it's not based off the Michael Mann film. By the way, Michael Mann has a weirdly enough so Heat is a race car game, and Michael Mann's new movie is about Enzo Ferrari, and like his racing team.
Huh.
So
that's
it's like
weird.
Yeah. So I mean, it's interesting that you bring up Heat, and the game Heat is about car racing, and you brought up Michael Mann.
What a weird little thing.
Yeah, I know. No, it's like a little IndyCar racing game, or not IndyCar. What am I saying?
Stock car? F1?
Like an F1 racing game. Thank you, F1, because I know people are really into F1 nowadays. I don't understand it myself. I like the memes, but you're just kind of going around. You're just driving around in a big circle thing. It's not circular like NASCAR. It's not like everyone's turning left. There's some more turns in F1, but I don't quite get it myself, because for me it's always just like, who has the better car? It's like, this car goes faster than that car. Well, this car was obviously win. But it's like, oh, no, this person could drive better. It's like, well, put the better driver in the faster car, and that person's gonna win.
Yes.
I don't know. I play mini games. That automatically makes my arguments invalid on many points. It's just like it's a small. It's not very there's not a ton of parts to it. It's more about just like driving around the track, and you get boosts and everything else to help you get forward and win the race. It's an interesting looking game.
How conducive is it to making car noises with your mouth?
Oh, it's very conducive.
Okay, well then, we're good.
Yeah.
We're in. We're in, bro.
Yeah, no, those were the two that I was like looking at, like legit. Like I kind of like this. The only problem with Heat is I don't think my wife and daughter would care too much about a car racing game. Mm-hmm. My son might like it, but he's too young, so he would be like us, making just car noises as we're going around the track.
Fuck yeah.
And then, do you know what the other hot game is right now? I think we talked about it before. Is Brass Birmingham?
Oh yeah, I know everyone's talking about Brass
Birmingham.
Too many pieces,
and it's also about Birmingham.
Alabama?
No, England.
Yes.
It would be like the equivalent would be like Brass Gary, Indiana. It's just like, you want to play a game about Gary, Indiana? The one from the song from A Music Man? I could tell you are you're a special person. Gary, Indiana. But yes, it's about these places that poison the environment for just being, for exist. Like humans have poisoned the environment of these places due to our industrialization.
For funsies. Hey man, I'm excited about the new thing, nanoplastics.
Nanoplastics?
Yeah,
That's not the new thing. Those have been around forever. They're in our blood.
No. You're thinking of microplastics, my friend.
These are different than microplastics?
Yes, this is nanoplastics. This is a different thing. How exciting, right?
I'm all for it. Will it eventually kill us all off?
We'll see.
We'll see.
Nice. We'll see. It will fundamentally change us. Don't know about killing us off.
Well, Yeah, let's go for it. Let's say it kills us off. I'm all about it. Let's just do it.
Hey,
Let's do it to it. I only got a couple years left on this planet anyway before I have a massive heart attack.
But you could just choose to stop eating the beef sandwiches now, Joe.
I'm from Chicago. I can't. My friend Dan from Spain, he sent me this meme thing about paella, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I've never actually eaten paella. And he's like, you've never eaten paella? I'm going, no, I'm from a culture where we put a sausage with Italian beef together on a bun and called it hot cuisine. Like, well, I've never eaten paella, of course.
Nice.
We're a meat culture here. We don't have fancy rice dishes with saffron in it. I would love to try it. Don't get me wrong. It's just not something that we generally eat out here. We eat like what our Chicago's contributions to cuisine are fantastic and delicious, but they are not like something we should really be proud of.
Yeah, probably not.
I mean, yeah, I like myself a good deep dish every once in a while. I'm gonna be honest.
I'm all in on the. I've been all in on the health food for like 8 years, so I ain't gonna change
you
now.
haven't eaten anything that's like legitimately tasty in a long time.
The worst food I've eaten is like what is it? I think sometimes I'll have a black bean crunch wrap from Taco Bell. So that's probably the worst thing I've eaten in like a long time.
I admire you because I know that that's going to help you in the long run, but I kind of feel a little sorry for you. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying, just feel a little sorry,
I like it. It's pretty good, actually.
I'm not. As I say, you're gonna live longer, and I'm sure it's fine. But I just feel a little sad. Like, oh, Steve is never gonna taste a delicious sandwich.
Yeah, I make my own food, and it does taste pretty good.
I mean, it might. I sometimes believe that most people just, what's the word I'm looking for? Convince themselves that it's good, but.
No, it's one of those things where like once you stop eating like sugar and stuff, fruit tastes way better. Like
oh yeah, I
was that's one of the things I noticed. I was just like, because like I'll have like an apple now, and I'm like, wow, this fucking apple tastes so fucking good. Like, what the hell's going on? I was like, oh, that's right. I don't eat pie.
Well, apple pie is delicious. Have you crossed over into that white people territory of the delineation of which apples are good and which apples are terrible?
I like all. So I'm gonna say no because I like all apples. I've never had a terrible apple. So
it's this weird thing where I don't understand it myself. Apparently, it's like maybe a suburban thing. But I've always been like, oh, like we're going apple picking. This is we're gonna get a bunch of apples. And people are like, what kind of apples you getting? I'm like, red ones. And they're like, no, what type? You gonna get yourself a Granny Smith? You gonna get yourself a John of Gold? And I'm like, I'm getting red apples. And they're like, well, you can't get apples because you can't get this type of apple, Golden Delicious. Those are terrible apples. I'm like, I didn't know there were good apples and terrible apples. I think all apples are pretty much just apples.
Yeah,
but it's that thing where it's this like, you can't have that type of beer because that beer is terrible. You have to have this type of very specific beer. You can't listen to this metal music. You have to listen to this type of metal music because that type of metal music is terrible. And it's like, why do you have to like delineate everything down into like these very specific things that we're pegging things into?
I mean, apples are different from each other. Like, I like Honey Crisp. I like Cosmic Crisp. I like Golden Delicious. Like, I wouldn't say that
Golden Crisp.
I'm not gonna say that there's no difference between apples because there's definitely a difference. But like, there's no such thing as like a good or a fucking bad apple.
You've done it now, Steve. You called down the wrath of white people on it.
There's gonna be a bunch of 47-year-old white women attacking the podcast now.
No, it's not a woman thing. There's guys get very, very angry about apples.
Really? I figured they'd be all in on the craft beer still.
Well, I mean, they're still in on craft beers too, but they get really angry about like if you pick one type of apple over another type of apple.
I see.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I think you would enjoy getting into an argument about because I think you would know how to argue with people about apples.
Yeah, usually the easiest way to argue with people about anything is you just You just be contrarian. Like,
yeah, exactly.
And, like, they get
able to handle it.
So mad. They get so mad. Like if someone's talking about how much they love ketchup on their steak, you just tell them, you just go in about how awful that is. And if someone's talking about how awful it is to put ketchup on your steak, you have to be like, no. See, ketchup on steak has a lot of fine. You just do the opposite of whatever they say.
You got to get yourself some Heinz 57.
Yes, that's right.
That on there.
You see, the thing is, you're thinking of the wrong type of ketchup. That's the issue here. You're just using a basic ketchup. You got to use a black pepper ketchup is what you need.
A spicy ketchup.
Spicy ketchup.
Yeah. I will say putting any type of sauce on a steak is kind of wrong, but that's a different thing altogether.
I mean, the entire point of it is it's if you're using cheap meat, like that's the whole.
I mean, yes,
that's literally what it's for. Like if you're eating a cheap steak, sauce it up, baby, or you can sloppy steak it.
So you gotta pour that water on that sloppy steak.
Now up,
you boys, you know, making the sloppy steaks.
You know, having the sloppy steaks.
I used to be a real piece of shit.
It's just a real piece of shit. I used to be a piece of shit too, young man.
You think he knows that I used to be a real piece of shit?
The hair slicked back.
Eating sloppy steaks.
Eating sloppy steaks.
There's nothing that prevents you from ordering a steak and a glass of water.
Yeah, that's right. There's nothing stopping you.
Any of you guys, just go watch. I think you should leave with.
Yeah, I think you should leave is incredible. It's so fucking funny.
Yes. Also Detroiters, if you have Paramount Plus, which I only have because of Star Trek. Detroiters, which is early Tim Robinson before he went on to do I Think You Should Leave, is also very much worth the watch.
Okay.
It's very proto, so I Think You Should Leave.
Okay.
So it's more of like a story as opposed to just like a bunch of weird sketches about like ghost jizz and stuff and horse cocks.
Very good.
Yeah. Anyway, Steve, do we have any other gaming news to talk about today?
I don't think so. I really don't. There's not too much. Oh, I mean, there's the Jeff Goldblum Magic card, which everyone should get.
Oh yeah, from Jurassic Park set, right?
Yeah. You got
Jurassic Park. We're gonna play Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, you got it's the Ian, the convalescent charmer. It's the fucking oiled up Jeff Goldblum. Fucking, the Mad Lads actually did it.
They did it. Those sons of bitches did it.
Yep. I'm always on the lookout for a future ex, Mrs. Malcolm.
I'm always on the. Slap it. Got it. I should watch Jurassic Park today. We're watching Die Hard today, so I'm not going to do that. I wonder how much that card goes for on eBay right now.
It's not out yet. This is the one from it's from Secret Lair.
So, okay, so it's not out yet.
Yeah, that like there is a Jeff Goldblum card currently, but it's not the one I'm talking about. It's not the
sexy
Jeff
Goldblum.
Yes.
Can I get Jeff Goldblum from The Fly?
Not yet, but that'd be dope. How so? Basically, there's all right. I buried the lead a little bit. Okay, so the Jeff Goldblum card from the set is $5. It's okay. It's very inexpensive. The Secret Lair that I'm referencing is all Jeff Goldblum cards.
What?
It's $30 and it's all Jeff Goldblum cards. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, it's Secret Lair X Jurassic World Dr. Ian Malcolm.
What?
Yeah, I'll put it in the Discord.
You better put that in the Discord because I will buy that for $30 and I'm gonna frame all the cards.
Yeah, it's all Jeff Goldblum cards. It's really cool.
Maybe I should do that for my game room. Just start replacing all the artwork that I have in it with Jeff Goldblum artwork and just wait to see who notices first.
All right, so I just posted it in general in the Discord. Yeah, I mean it's great. Like you really you'll buy it.
Oh, that's good. One thing I did want to talk about. So I had my D&D night the other week, and it actually ended up going really well. What I did want to mention was I started using a combat board. So I put it up on the Discord, and it's a little 12 by 12 1-inch square tiles that I got at like Home Depot. I just built a board for it. And I bring it out when we're playing. So my new play style is now, I have all the terrain out there. They move through the terrain and everything like that, give them an idea what's around there. and I've created this combat board so that when they get into fights, it's a little more, it gives a better idea of size and where people are in the combat. It was based off of like, yes, the terrain that I built for the cave to go through is very cool, but you can't have combat in it. It's too small for what we needed. So that's why I built out this combat board, so we have some really cool looking stuff to put in there. So I mean, if you're interested, go on the Discord, which is the best way that you can get in contact with us and see what fun stuff we're working on. You can see it in there. It's in the tabletop role playing game section that we have on there. And you can see the cool video I made for my little chapter 3 of Tyranny of Dragons.
I mean, and you know, I've talked about before. I'm a huge fan of doing the like combat board style or like dungeon pizza. Like I do not like square counting for, and I think I really figured out it's because I like minis games. So when I'm playing an RPG, like I don't want to play a minis game.
Yeah.
So that's the big thing for me. It's like if I want this experience, I'll play a miniatures game.
Yeah. I think that as my players get better, it's going to have to get more into the combat board in order to be more D&D, more work for D&D 5th. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. Because it is. Yeah, it's just that's just because that's how the game works. It's like 5th edition is so dependent on distance and movement and things like that in combat that you can't really do anything the other way, you know. However, I did have
there's D&D has too many, like I do like theatry of the mind, but I think I talked to you, I think I mentioned to you on Facebook, but like since 3.0, D&D has too many like very specific measurement based things, like doing stuff like you can move them, take a 5-foot step or move this guy here. It's like to get a flanking thing. It's like a lot of that stuff just doesn't really work without minis. I mean, that's the whole point. It's because they wanted to sell minis. So like it's hard to defeat the purpose of the game, which was to sell miniatures.
Yeah, or just to sell things, you know. Yes, it's not necessarily miniatures, just to sell things.
Yes.
Like whenever Games Workshop changes a rule, it's to sell more things. So whenever a company changes the rules of a game, it's to sell more things. It's not because it makes the game better. It's because they need to sell more things.
True.
Make line go up.
Yes. Line must go up.
I mean, that's not always the truth. I mean, a lot of independent games and like the cool shit that you like.
I say we should also caveat, anytime we're talking about this, we're always talking about corpos. Like we're never fucking talking about little indie guys.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the most indie guys are pretty cool. They're like, if they change something in a game, it's because like, oh shit, this is a glaring flaw in our game system, we need to change this. Or it's a small flaw in our game system, we need to change this. In a big game, it's like, flyers are great now because no one was buying flyers, so we have to make flyers good so we could sell flyers.
Precisely.
Line go up now.
Yes, precisely.
All right. Anything else that we want to talk about?
Nah, I think I'm good, man.
All right. So go to the Game Classy Facebook page. It's the best way to find a link to the Game Classy Discord where we actually talk about stuff. So here's how you do it, guys. If the best way to get the link, you go to the Facebook page, you look at the latest episode of the podcast. You put a comment on there kind of that just says butts, and then you click on the Discord link and you join our Discord. Yeah. We are very active on there, and it's a big fun community. We have lots of fun stuff to talk about. Steve's better at communicating on it than I am, just because when I have downtime, I'm better on there. but
like, comment, subscribe, ring that bell.
Yeah. Talk about Star Trek. Even though it's all over right now, they have no new Trek, and it's very sad.
Yes.
We don't want to have Trek for a long time due to the strike, but now that it's all over, we'll hopefully get new Trek soon.
Yay!
I say that saying that Discovery is currently on, but there's no way in hell I'm watching the new season of Discovery.
Hey, you know what? I haven't watched it, but at this point, it might be good. There's been enough seasons where it could have turned around.
I mean, it could have very much. I just hate the design of the Discovery ship. It's so stupid looking.
Yeah, the spinny thing is kind of weird. Like it you know what it is? I figured it out. It's not a main series ship design. It's a gimmick ship design from like an episode.
It really is. You're absolutely correct.
Like that's a ship that would have been like that's a ship that would be like, oh, that ship was pretty cool, but only if you see it once.
There's only 5 cards in this Jurassic Park set.
That's called what that is. That's a secret layer. So what secret layer is it's a limited number of cards that have alternate art that they only do 1 print run on, and you get those cards specifically. So that box gets you those 5 Jeff Goldblum cards, and it's the only way to get those 5 Jeff Goldblum cards. And once they sell out, you can never again get those 5 Jeff Goldblum cards.
Oh man, FOMO indeed.
That secret layer is literally FOMO.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's Jeff Goldblum cards. It's pretty cool.
All right. So what else? There's a Discord. Also, the best way you can help with the podcast is like, comment, and subscribe on the iTunes, and you can like, comment, subscribe on the YouTubes because I put it up there for some odd reason. I don't know why I do that to myself. Podcast is going to be a little late on the drop because I will be going to the Museum of Science and Industry tomorrow.
Hey, make sure you tag it as a podcast too, because the YouTube Music is an integrated Google Podcasts. So,
I will have to look at that and like kind of make some decisions.
So that's a thing. Because I mean, I only know this because I used to use Google Podcasts for all my podcasts, and so now I can't use Google Podcasts anymore because it's been integrated into YouTube Music. So there you go.
Well, there you go. All right. So Steve, if you wanna see some of my other stuff, you can go to my Instagram page. I am at GameClassyJoe. If you want Steve, you could see him on Blue Sky, right?
Yeah, I'm on Blue Sky.
And his handle is at Command Throw.
That's correct.
All right. Is it Command_Throw or just Command Throw?
Nope, just Command Throw.
It's Command Throw.
Yeah.
So Steve, until next time.
Facebook, please stop recommending me thick women. You're distracting me at work.